Yo, it's Akeem the Dream, and this is episode 9 on Inside the Dream. We have special guest football legend Corey Sawyer Sr. How you doing?
Good. Glad to be here, Jay.
Glad to be here. When did you actually start playing football?
About 5 years old, about Key West, Florida.
Key West, and that's where you grew up,
Born and raised.
born and raised. So you're what is like your what is a Key West thing that you guys do over there?
Well, a lot of people see it now as a place that you can go to in vacation. We just saw it as a place that we grew up. You know, a lot of people like to go fishing, but for the locals like myself, we played basketball. You know, we played football, we swam, we ran track. We did a lot of things that, a lot of other kids did.
And how many sports did you play?
Two. I
Two?
did basketball and football, yes.
And what was so actually I know you because you helped raise me, so I know a lot of these questions. So you played basketball, football. Were you ranked in high school, like ranked top 100?
Yes, I was number 5 in the country coming out of high school as a quarterback and also an athlete. Athlete means you can play both sides of the ball, offense and also defense.
Wow. And wow. So how many hours does it take to train, and how committed do you have to be for someone to actually be top 5 in the country for a quarterback at that?
Well, now it's called training. When I was growing up, we just went out and did it every day. We played basketball in the park. We played football in the park. You know, only thing that we couldn't do is just come home when the lights were on. So we played basketball from the time we got up, football the time we got up, and the time we had to go home and get to bed and go to school the next morning.
And that was just playing around. It wasn't, nowadays it is called training, but that was just playing around?
Yep, just playing around, having fun with the kids, other kids in our neighborhood.
That's nice. So I remember you told me this story one time. What was the story? It's actually a funny story. You were going out to play. I forget if it was basketball, football, but your mom didn't want you going out to play, and she said, "Take this candy," and then you're like, "Okay," and you ate the candy, and it was actually like a laxative.
Yeah, actually, I was playing basketball too much, and she wanted me to settle down and take a day off. But again, when you're a kid, you just want to go play and just have fun with your friends. And I can never forget this story. It was a Sunday. We came from church, and she said, "Corey, it's time to take a day off to, just relax." And I said, "Mom, all my friends going to play, basketball. I want to get in the gym, and we're going to shoot." So she said, "Okay, well, let me give you this candy, and, you can take a little break, and then you can go play basketball." Needless to say, I didn't know it was a laxative. And when I went to use the bathroom, I don't think I left the house the rest of the day. So I was kind of, mad about the situation because you're a kid and you want to play. But then again, I was kind of upset as well.
That's probably the funniest story I've probably ever heard. And how, involved were your parents in sports?
Well, my mom, my father passed away when I was 12, 13 years old. So my father was never around in my life at that point in time. My mother was involved a lot. My Aunt Uni, she was involved much more than everybody else. She came to every football game, and anytime I did anything, you will hear her in the stands, in the football, and basketball as well. So she was my main cheerleader.
Oh, that's very nice to have. That support system is something very important to athletes and just a man or just somebody in the world. It's blessed to have.
Oh, exactly.
And so in high school, you had how many offers?
I don't remember how many offers, but I can tell you every Division I school in the country, I probably got a letter. They probably wanted me to come visit or, offer me a scholarship. But the ones that I was interested in, piqued my interest, and then I went with that.
And you had offers from every school for both sports, right?
Yes.
So every football scholarship you had for basketball too?
Yes. In my main schools that I went to visit, that I had dual scholarships, and I think I told you and my son this, I went to Michigan, Syracuse, Florida State, West Virginia, South Carolina. That was my top 5. And I knew I had an opportunity to play football and also basketball.
And what made you choose football instead of basketball?
Actually, my height. I thought I was a little bit short at that time to play basketball. So I took my football scholarship to Florida State. Also, I was going up there to try out for the basketball team. Football just happened to come easy for me, and I just progressed so much faster than basketball, but basketball was my first love. Football just was something I was just blessed to do. And I just took my, football scholarship, and I and I ran with it.
And what made you choose Florida State?
My position, defensive back. I was always aggressive.
Well, you were a quarterback, yeah, right?
Played quarterback in high school, but when we played against good football teams, I would play defensive back, and I would go with their best receiver. So I had a gift to do that. And football, playing, looking at Deion Sanders and Leroy Butler and all those guys at Florida State, I felt that a defensive back, going to Florida State would fit my style.
And you're repping Florida State gear right now.
I'm blood in and blood out, brother. This is a school that we cherish, we take honor, and go into. And back in the '90s when I played in that national championship team, Florida State was what you live by.
I'm a Buckeye, so I'm a ride or die Buckeye for that one. Did you ever get to play the Buckeyes?
I did not, no. And even if we did, they wouldn't want to see us.
So growing up, you were a Florida State fan as that, and then you got to play with some of the greats. Didn't you get to play with, what's his name, Charlie Woods?
Charlie Ward, yep. That was our quarterback, yes, sir.
And he was the first one to actually win Heisman for basketball and football.
Well, he won a Heisman in football, but he did play basketball as well.
Oh, so he was dual.
Yes, but a lot of people don't understand. Charlie Ward was a great athlete. And Charlie Ward came into Florida State as a punter. He was our punter at Florida State when we came in. He was a third-string quarterback. That's why Coach Bowden and the football team and the basketball coaches allowed him to play both sports. Mm-hmm. He was a punter for football, and then he was the point guard for basketball. And, just Charlie was a great athlete, and they gave him that opportunity, and he went with it, and he did great things.
So let's go back to, your first day on the Florida State Seminoles campus. How was it? How was the feeling like I'm a Seminole?
Different, because you're coming from Key West, Florida, very, very small island. We only had one high school. And then you go to Florida State when you got 500 people in one class. Mm-hmm. So, it's overwhelming. The gift that I had, I went there in July for summer school just to get acquainted with the campus, with the teachers, with the big classrooms, and it worked out for me.
It did?
Very well, very well. Once school started in August, we just knew how to deal with the classes. We knew about the campus. We knew how to deal with the professors. We knew where our apartments were. We just did everything that most kids don't get a chance to do before they get on campus.
And so, as a student athlete, how important are the books?
It's the main goal.
That's the main goal.
Regardless if you're a great athlete, you can't drive the vehicle unless you have academics. If you're academically ineligible, then you play no sports. No matter if you're playing basketball, football, track, swimming, baseball, whatever the case may be, sports and academics is first, and then, your gift or your sport is second.
Were there ever times where you were struggling a little bit in school because you were mentally too focused? Because you're 19, 20 years old in college, you're too focused on playing football, focusing on your dream to make it to the NFL, or were you just always there for the books?
No, I struggled my freshman year, actually. When I got there in July, I did pretty good because we only had a couple classes to maintain. But once you got your load in August, you got to go through the studying, you got to go through the classes, you got to go through the practices, you got to go to study halls. You got to do all those things as a student athlete, and it's a bit overwhelming. You got to deal with the media, you got to deal with, being away from home. You got to deal with all that stress and, obstacles that may come your way. And I did struggle my freshman year, like most kids do, because it's just overwhelming. Again, coming from Key West with 30 people in the class, you go to Florida State with 300 people in the class, 400 people in the class. So, it's a bit overwhelming.
It was?
Oh, very much so, very much so.
I go to a community college. There's obviously not many kids. So, obviously, with 400, 300 kids in a class, it's like it's hard to get a one-on-one answer from a teacher.
Well, the good thing about the sports, sport athletes, you have that tutor. You have, once you finish the game or practice, you have your tutors. So you get that one-on-one love with, math, science, English, whatever it may be. They give that extra help for athletes. No matter what sport it is, you get that comfort level, and it helps you progress once you go to school, the next day or the next semester.
Yeah, and I know you've pushed school on Corey and I and Blaze a lot, and you set an example for us, and you showed us that comes first before anything else.
Well, the reason why I did that because with sports or in life, you need school. you need a degree. You need to show that you're capable of getting a job. If just happened, if football didn't work for me, I had to be academic, eligible to go get a job or do an interview. And it's more important than most athletes your age think about. Back then, parents stressed about, academics just to get out of the hood, if you would say, or the area you're in. It takes you a long way. You meet friends along the way. So academics is more important than anything you can imagine.
How was it transferring from a quarterback to being a corner, facing obviously the top wide receivers in the world, going head-to-head in college? How was the transfer from offense to defense?
It wasn't bad for me because I had I was gifted to play both sides of the ball in high school. So my passion was to play defense because I was kind of aggressive, but I just was so athletic to play quarterback. That's what they did back then. You put your athlete as a quarterback or a running back. But I was just so aggressive. I wanted to play on the opposite side of the football. And when I went to Florida State, it wasn't a difference because I was already prepared for that. The only difference would have been that was my main objective, that was my main goal, that was my main focus. And you had a lot of other athletes who were just as good as you are on the same, in the same position.
And how hard was it fighting for a starting position?
Very difficult. I had a lot of older guys in front of me. I had a lot of proven guys in front of me. And I did have this one guy was in front of me that, he was one of the best to play football at Florida State, and that was Terrell Buckley. He led the country in interceptions. I had an opportunity to sit behind him, watch him, grow from him. He taught me about the game. He taught me how to manage the game. He taught me how to see different things that I didn't see, early in my career. So getting redshirted was one of the best things that happened to me.
And was that your decision, or it just it was the coach's decision?
No, it was just the coach's decision. I mean, I came in highly recruited. Obviously, if you come in highly recruited, you want to come in and play. You want to come in and start. But at that time, you just had to wait your turn. Exactly. I ended up getting a groin injury. I ended up getting redshirted. But I was a bit upset. But, in hindsight, I sat back. I was able to, go to school. I was able to practice. I was able to watch, this guy named Terrell Buckley just perform at such a high level and taught me so much. Then when he ended up getting drafted to the NFL, then I knew, the game, it slowed down for me a lot.
And so you actually, you tied Deion Sanders' record with the most interceptions in a game, right?
Yes, 3 interceptions in the game, yes.
The feeling walking off of that game, knowing that you just tied a record with one of the greats, how was that feeling?
It was a great feeling for me because I was the second one that did it. But then again, it was very difficult for me as well because I ended up dropping an interception.
Oh, so you could have beat it.
I could have had 4.
Oh.
So, it's good because I had 3, but I could have had 4.
And then you had 13 interceptions at Florida State, and that was top 5 in your position?
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And is that feeling better or bitter?
Well, whenever you play the game and you're so focused on the game, you really don't worry about the numbers. You just see the numbers after you finish from the game. So it was an honor for me to, be at Florida State and get 13 interceptions in 2 years. As you know, I left as a junior, but I think if I would have stayed as a senior, I could have broke a lot of Deion records. But again, Deion was just a bar, and we just had to try to get to it. You just focus on the game. You try to be the best at your position. And, us at Florida State, that's all we did.
And what made you decide to go to the NFL after your so-called, official junior year, but playing as a sophomore?
Well, it was a difficult decision for me. Just accomplishing so many goals, so young. I was an All-American as a sophomore, really my redshirt freshman year. My redshirt junior year, I was another All-American. I led the country in interceptions. I was top in the country and coming out. We won a national championship. So I felt all the stars lined it up pretty well for me to just take my talent to the next level.
And you're considered a Florida State legend. Did you know that?
Yes. Well, I just try to play the game the best that I could. Anytime you have a responsibility to do your job, you want to do it at the highest level. At Florida State, you always had a lot of people, a lot of fans look at you as saying Florida State was one of the best football teams that ever played football, and defensive backs that came out of Florida State were great. I think we have the most, All-Americans that came out of Florida State than any college. So it is a great honor to sit back and just see my name, as a legend, as one of the top that played football at Florida State.
Now let's talk about your number. Why the number 8?
Actually, that was my mom's birthday, February 8th.
Okay.
My number really was number 12. I had number 12 in football, and I played with number 10 at basketball. But once we got to Florida State, you could not have, back then, number 10 was taken, number 12 was taken, so I ended up getting number 8, February 8th, my mother's birthday.
That's nice. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah.
And then, so talking about fans like you did in the previous conversation, there was one time that you and your family were on a cruise, and there was a guy named Sawyer, and I think you met their parents. And then I remember Corey told me that his name was he was named Sawyer because of you, because they went to Florida State and they remember seeing you on campus. How much of an honor is that to have someone's name after you?
That was taken back. Actually, they named the boy Corey.
Oh, it was Corey.
Yes, it was very humbling. It was very, very humbling. Anytime you carry yourself with the high regard, you carry yourself as a man, you be respectful, you just try to do the right thing. You go to school, you just play sports the best that you can play at the highest level. And when fans or friends of mine that tell me how good I am or how great I was, it's it's a humbling experience, and especially when someone named their child after me. I mean, it's just it's something that will stick with me for a long time.
That's good. And so let's walk us through your draft day. It was 93, right?
94.
94. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Walk us through your draft day.
It was very difficult for me. Coming out as one of the top, college athletes, I ended up getting, and I've told you this story, I ended up getting into some trouble with Nike. Not even Nike. It was just Foot Locker. I'm sorry. It was Foot Locker. We thought as kids we were able to do certain things, but that was against the NCAA rules, which as kids we just didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So I went through some legal challenges in my junior year going into the draft. So a lot of GMs was very high on me because of my athletic ability and also the numbers I put up and the school that I represented. But it was that my legal trouble was in the way. So I was very nervous on going first round. I was expected to go first round. Second round came, third round came, and then I get a lot nervous, and I went first pick in the fourth round.
And who was that to? The Bengals?
Cincinnati Bengals, yes.
And so as a rookie, you're not top paid, but top paid is first round, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then it just goes down each round?
Oh, yeah. And I was very upset because you lose so much money, my talents could take me to the first round, but my legal trouble put me in the fourth round. I was a bit upset, but then again, that was just something that kids do.
And
make mistakes.
Yeah, and not to get too much into like your financial situations and everything, but a lot of people always like to know, like, when you come from being in a poor area and then you get a first huge check, like what goes through your head? Do you just spend the first amount of money that you get, or were you smart with your money?
No, actually, the first thing that you would do is you want to buy your mama a house.
Yeah.
You're coming from myself. Key West, Florida, is very small. Come from, won't say the ghetto, but come from the projects. Example, if you in Miami, you come from the project, Chicago, wherever you come from in the projects, you just never had a home. So the first thing you want to do, you want to buy your mama a home, you want to buy your mama a car, and be able to live, like a dream.
Yeah.
You want to live a dream.
And so after that, your rookie year, what were the I'm having a brain fart. What were the troubling moments of your rookie career?
The troubling moments for my rookie career was losing. Coming from, playing football, I lost 5 games in my entire life. I lost 2 games in high school, and I lost 3 games at Florida State. You get drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, and, you go there because it's the NFL. You have all these goals. You have all this, things that you want to do. You have this blessing, and then we go 0-8. We lost our first 8 games, and I wasn't comfortable with losing. So that was a very, very tough time for me. But again, that was my rookie year. But still, when you're competitive, you play at Florida State, just losing wasn't an option.
Yeah. And then so after losing all that time and then building up to your career, what was your most memorable moments that you could remember right now?
Being drafted.
Oh, that was the biggest moment of your life?
That was the biggest moment, yes. I mean, I didn't have a chance to, go to the Super Bowl, didn't have a chance to go to the playoff. So, I don't have that pedigree, if you will, of going like I did at Florida State. We won a national championship. We had an opportunity to win a national championship every year. But then you go to, the biggest promised land of sports, football, and you win, you go 0-8. It's more of a business now than the love of the game.
Yeah.
So that changed me and my mental frame a lot.
And more of a business, is the NFL kind of treat you a little worse than what you would think they would, or are they friendly in how they make it seem like?
Well, when you play in a game, you playing for the next contract, okay? And what I mean by that is if you get your rookie contract, you're getting drafted by that status. And the business is you have to perform. It's a job. You got to come there every day willing to work. You got to come there willing to be the best. You got to put your part into it because they put their part into it by investing in you. So, you just have to play for that next deal. You have to play for that next game because there's always somebody else that's willing to take your job. If you don't perform, they can cut you with no guarantees. They can cut you and you can bring someone else in from another team, from someone off the streets. So you have to always be on your P's and Q's when you're playing in the NFL every week.
And if there was somebody here right now talking to you, asking for advice that is getting drafted this upcoming year, what advice would you give them?
Stay humble, stay hungry.
Stay hungry?
Stay humble, stay hungry. You can always have the limelight. You can be an all-pro one year. You can get injured the next year, or you can get cut. You can get arrogant because you're getting endorsements, you're getting the Gatorade commercials, you're getting the Nike deals, you're getting all those, accolades. But if you're not hungry and you're not humble, then you ended up falling. Not saying everybody, a lot of them fall because you just rise up so fast, and then one mistake can cost you your career.
Yeah. And then so after the Bengals, you went to the Jets.
Correct.
Were you winning there?
We did win there. We did win there. I was very disappointed because they bought me from Cincinnati, and they relied on me a whole lot to come in there and anchor that defensive secondary. And I did have a good time with the Jets, but that's when my injury started to take toll.
And is that the team that you almost made it to the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, no. Well, Cincinnati was the Pro Bowl. I think it was my 4th year. I was second in the AFC in punt return average. I think I had 5 interceptions. But because we was a losing team, a guy that went to the Pro Bowl behind me, all numbers was behind me, but they had a better record.
Yeah.
So it happens like that in the NFL.
Yeah. And then you played 5 years?
6 years.
6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to the XFL.
Correct. 1 year, yes.
1 year. What's the difference between that? Because you're playing in regular shoes at that point.
Yeah, speed. It was speed. XFL was good. You had a lot of movement, different from the NFL, but they had NFL regulations, and it was good. But it only lasts 1 year, so I couldn't get a whole lot out of it.
Yeah, and then so after that, you met your family, and then you had your son Corey, and then him growing up. When I first met Corey, he was in football, and he was just shooting around with basketball. That's how we met. And then was there a focus more you wanted him to play football, or was it just do what you love?
Well, when he was growing up, I just wanted him to find his own way. He didn't know what he wanted to do, if he wanted to play basketball, or he wanted to play football. So once he got to that, I think he was 5 years old, he wasn't able to play football because they changed the rules. 6 years old, he started playing football, and he was good at it, very good at it. He didn't play basketball as much then. But then he started growing up a little bit, and he played both sports. So what I felt that you just don't put your eggs in one basket because I didn't do it. You play football because you gifted to play that. You play basketball because you gifted to play that. And I didn't steer him one way or another.
So he chose his decision, and he's sticking with that now.
I wasn't very happy. I can tell you the time that Corey came to me and said, Dad, I think I want to just focus on basketball. And I wasn't very happy about that. Why? Because I said, son, you just so good at both sports. You just can't give up one, and you're so gifted at that. You can't give up both because you're gifted at them both. Some kids are not able to play one sport. You're good at two. So I wasn't very happy about that. But, I wasn't going to push Corey in just the path that I had. Football was my gift, and I wanted him to find his gift. And I had a decision to make, me and his mom, and we sat down with Corey, and we said, well, son, you can take a year off. Let's just see what you do in basketball, and we'll just take a year off of football. If it don't work, then you can go back, and we'll go from there. We'll start all over, and we go from there. And Corey he was determined to make this basketball thing work. And, me having a background in playing basketball, I went out to the park, and I trained him. I trained him my way. We was out there 11 o'clock in a hot sun. We wasn't in no gym. We was out in the park, and I tried to break him as much as I could. His mama couldn't come there. We was in a hot sun. He had a bottle of water, and I put him through every single drill that I could possibly put him through to make sure that basketball is what he wanted.
Tough love.
Tough love.
And now he's really good now, and that shows a lot that just training can bring you to a high point.
Not only that, determination.
Determination.
I mean, Corey was very determined that he wanted to prove to me that he wanted to play basketball. And once he did that, it got to a point I had to say, okay, son, this is what you want to do. Now I had to get him the professional training that he needed.
Okay. And then looking back at your whole career, if there was one thing that you could change, what would that have been? Through professional, college, high school, anything?
Well, it's difficult to say one thing. Because you always make a lot of mistakes when you're so young. I just think I should have prepared a lot more for after the game than I did. But you just don't know till that time comes.
Yeah.
So for all the young athletes that I would talk to, I would always tell them, don't live for today, live for tomorrow. And what I mean by that is you're playing the game today, the game may not be there tomorrow. So you have to prepare for tomorrow and just not shoot yourself in the foot for today.
Okay. That's actually good advice.
Financially and, spiritually and everything else, you live for tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow is not promised, but, in the game, you just don't know when your career can end.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. How invested are you in Florida State? Because you're repping the gears as of today.
Well, I'm repping every day. Man, I'll tell you, Florida State is just, for you is Ohio State, but when you're an alumni and you go to Florida State and you be around so many athletes and so many, friends that you met along the way, you shed tears, you blood, sweat, tears. You woke up together, you trained together, you went through went through high times together, lows together. They become your brothers. And, no matter what I did in the NFL, going back to Florida State will be the best time of my life because we met so many friends, and to this day, I have more friends that I continue to be in contact with in college than I did in the NFL.
That's nice. That's a memory moment. That's just college. They always say it does set you up for the rest of your life.
And that's true.
Because the people you meet, the degree you study, and all of that good stuff.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And anybody that's out there, you're going to see me in Florida State gear a whole lot. I represent my team. I believe in my team. I believe in my school, basketball, football, baseball, softball, whatever it may be.
True fan, true team. That's a true
alumni.
Man. Alumni. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of. Alumni.
Because some people always ask me, "Are you a fan?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm an alumni."
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking. You took it. It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, that goes a long way.
And then I was interviewing this one-armed basketball player who played, sorry to say, but he played at Florida, University of Florida. Okay. And he was telling me about one of the times that they have like this really bad like conditioning day where it's like you wake up at 5 a.m. and do a whole bunch of like crazy drills that make you want to throw up. Were there any like days like that at Florida State?
Every day. We had it was called mat drills.
Mat drills.
Mat drills. We had to come in the gym. We had to be seated at 5:30 in the morning. And it was different stages of the gym that you would go to. Don't remember, I think it was 3 minutes or 4 minutes of stages. And it really tests your will to see if you was made for this game or made to be a Florida State Seminole, made to be great, or if you didn't, our teammates would know. And if your teammates knew that you was lacking, it was our job to pick you up and say, let's finish. So it brought brotherhood, it brought toughness, it brought accountability, it brought so much when we did that as a team. So when the game came, it was easy for us because we put in the work so much, 5 o'clock. And not only that, we had to go to school 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
After being with your team all the time and working out with them and being in professional sport where it relies more on you, would you say the training was a little more difficult because it was more just on yourself instead of, being there for your team?
Well, it's a lot more difficult now. It was a lot more difficult then because it was tougher. Now you have kids with, heart problems. You have kids with different, situations that you can't push them, or heat exhaustions. You can't push them the way coaches did us back then in the days. Different caliber of football.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to play in the NFL and give your perspective on this podcast, Inside the Dream. Thank you for coming on. It was a true honor. I want to say thank you for help raising me, being that father figure that I didn't have, and I really appreciate you.
Anytime, Jay. You're my son. You know that.
I know. Thank you, man.
Take care, brother.
All right. Akeem's out.